Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same with the Grizzly Gentleman, 10% off at checkout on your fantastic beard products. Or you could shop via the TCG Player affiliate link in the description down below to help support the show. And last but of course not least, you can go to Grey Viking Games with the affiliate link below to pillage some sweet arena codes. What is up, Planeswalkers 3x6 back with more Magic the Gathering Kaldheim spoilers. I believe that I have fixed the microphone issue. I will say, like, my gain is super low now, and it still seems like I'm peaking, which is so strange, because at some point, I had to, like, turn my gain up a lot. I don't know how audio mixing works, alright? I'm just gonna let you know right now. We're gonna continue with the Kaldheim spoilers. I am obviously very far behind, and the main reason for that is the fact that I had a bunch of things where I, like, left and went to places, but regardless, we're gonna go ahead and just continue on. I'm not gonna talk about all of the spoilers since in one single video. I'm still gonna parse it out a little. And I'm probably going to skip over the things that I don't care as much about. So, Doomscar Oracle, 3 mana, 3/2, Human Cleric. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, you gain 2 life. And then you have a Foretelled 1. Now, like, cool, it's a human, cool, it's a cleric. It's a Foretell card as well. And it also is a second spell. So this card is actually, like, probably going to be very important in draft, because it fills so many of these different archetypes, right? We've got Human Trouble, we've got Cleric Trouble, we've got gaining life is always going to be some nonsense, but we also have Foretell and the whole second spell thing. So the fact that this is this does so many of those things all with one card makes me think that this is possibly going to be a decent card in draft. I could be wrong. Obviously, I'm not a big limited player, but other than that, I don't really see it seeing play anywhere else. Saw It Coming is absolutely hilarious. 3 mana counter target spell, right? This is the what is it, cancel? This is cancel plus sets mechanic, right? Wizards seems to like doing that, and for what it's worth, I do too. Because Wizards recognizes that, like, just counterspell is too good, but it's not too good by a whole mana. I think Mark Rosewater said something along the lines of, like, if they did half mana in Black Border, counterspell would probably be half mana double blue, and then it would be, like, actually balanced. But what they've decided to do is they'll have cancel from time to time in, like, core sets and whatnot, but then they'll have cancel plus, and the plus is usually going to be one of the set's mechanics, such that this one is Foretell. Now, because of the way Foretell works, you're always going to be paying that 2 up front, but they couldn't make this a 1 mana counterspell, right? So you're going to be paying a total of 4 if you end up foretelling it. However, being able to pay only 2 later on is still important. If you're a control player and you know for a fact that you don't have anything to do on turn 2, maybe you're going first and your opponent played a Garbo 1-drop, so you don't really care. You can foretell this, and then later on you can go ahead and just counter something for only 2 mana instead of 3. And the difference between 2 and 3 is actually quite huge. Another difference here is the fact that the Foretell cost is not blue. It's not double blue. It's 1 in a blue, which means that it's technically easier to splash now, because a 3 in a blue counterspell is a lot easier to cast than a 1 in a double blue. It's important to note that this is casted on a later turn. So if you end up paying the Foretell on this, and then your opponent casts something on your turn that you want to counter on that same turn that you cast it, you cannot cast this for its Foretell cost, because it's on the same turn. I like this card. Is it going to see play in Historic? Probably not. It might see play in Standard. It might see play in Standard. I'm not sure. It depends on how many other, like, good Foretell cards there are for the Azorius control deck. Dragon Dad Ooh Ooh. Some people don't like the hilarious names that Scryfall gives these cards, but I think they're very funny. So 2 mana, 2/2. Human Berserker with first strike, so already we got a good old-fashioned Berserker in here. And it's a bear with upside. Most abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate for each dragon you control. Very interesting, but what's nice here is that you don't really have to have dragons in your deck. Obviously, if you do have some good dragons that are worth it, especially if they have any dragon berserkers, I doubt they will, but it'd be pretty cool if they added that. But you don't need them, because this card helps itself. Boast for 5 mana. Create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. Now, for what it's worth, like, that still is fine, right? That's a fine rate. That's absolutely a fine rate. Later on in the game, if you you have this card, it also has first strike, so it's not as scary attacking with this card, especially if you maybe have pump spells as well. Obviously, like then you're getting into like how much mana do you expect to have, blah blah blah. But the idea here, right, is that early in the game, it's a 2 mana 2/2 first strike. Great at being aggressive, even great at being defensive. Although obviously the boast makes you want to attack. But if you like have this late game, you can attack, and before it dies to blocks or anything, you can pay that 5 mana to have a 5/5 dragon. And you might say like 5 mana for a 5/5, like that's past the vanilla test, but it's not great. But it didn't cost you a card is the thing, right? The fact that it doesn't cost you a card means that that's an amazing rate, right? Usually the vanilla test is like, oh well, if it's just a 4 mana 4/4 with no abilities, it's not good because that's not worth a card, right? The vanilla test not worth a card. This doesn't cost a card. In addition, you can use this across multiple turns as long as he lives, and the effect gets cheaper as time goes on. But more than that, he affects all of the boast abilities. So if he's on the field and you're making these dragons, at a certain point, you're going to be able to make a dragon and use abilities, use the other boast abilities. So it's really cool. And the way boast works is it's just activate this if you've attacked with a creature. So what you can do is you can, attack with this berserker, and, then you can make a dragon with it, and then you can activate the boast effects of the others. So say you have, let's say 7 mana, and you have this and 2 other creatures that each have a 1 and a red ability, right? You attack with all 3. You have 7 mana. Use 5 of that mana for this, and then you can use those other 2 for those 1 and a red creatures. So I do like this card. I'm not a big I'm not a big red player, but I think this is a really interesting card. And yeah, I hope that they do have a Dragon Berserker, because that'd be pretty cool. God's Guardian, 6 mana 3/6, Foretell Vigilance Cat. It's not good. Esika's Chariot. By the way, if I've talked about these cards already, I'm sorry. It's been a long time since I recorded. 4 mana 4/4 crew 4. When Esika's Chariot enters the battlefield, create 2/2/2 green cat creature tokens. Hilarious. Whenever Esika's Chariot attacks, create a token that's a copy of target token you control. So what's very interesting here is that this is a 4 mana 4/4 that comes with a vehicle, right? Like this is just a great rate. They're tokens, so they work with your doubling effects. They're tokens, so they work better with lords. So for some reason, if you're playing this in a cat deck, if you play this out on turn, let's say you just play it on turn 4, right? Like you have the cat lord on turn 3, the one that gives them protection from dogs or something. Then you play this on turn 4. Like it's a 6 power worth of, or 6/6 worth of stats for a 4-drop. That even if those creatures die, you have more utility here. I really like this card. It's a legendary, so there is that issue. It'll see play in meme decks. It'll see play in Brawl cat decks, things like that. I doubt it's gonna see play in standard, but who knows? Maybe Wizards will grow some cojones and ban things. Vega the Watcher, 3 mana 2/2 legendary creature burst spirit. I really need to say that I do appreciate the fact that they're printing a lot more legendaries at uncommon, instead of just rare. I think it just opens more room for being able to have extra legends. I just like it. It's a 2/2 bird spirit. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, draw a card. This is interesting with things like escape, things that exile. You can cast things from exile, although the exile thing is usually a red mechanic. You can obviously cast things from graveyard, and that's kind of, you have some of that in blue and to a lesser extent white. Cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, and then of course they have Foretell, right? That's the main thing about this is you're looking to play this with Foretell, because then you're casting something from exile and you'll be able to draw extra cards. It's cool. If there's a Foretell deck, maybe this runs it. Someone's probably going to make a Brawl deck for this, and I think it'll be pretty fun. But Undersea Invader is a 6 mana 5/6 flash giant rogue. Undersea Invader enters the battlefield tapped. What? I just realized this is a rogue. I mean, I get it. It's like walking through the water, so it's not going to be seen topside. Also, holy crap, those are sharks. That thing's fucking huge. It's a giant rogue. What? I mean, it's funny. This compares hilariously to Torrential Gearhulk, obviously. But Gearhulk was a rare or mythic. I don't actually remember, and I don't care. And this is a common, so take that as you will. Quakebringer. Oh, I love this. I love the giants in this set. 5 mana, 5. Well, some of them. 5 mana, 5/4. Your opponents can't gain life. I already have talked about how much I like the Ferocodon, Rampaging Ferocodon. At the beginning of your upkeep, Quakebringer deals 2 damage to each opponent. This ability triggers only if Quakebringer is on the battlefield, or if Quakebringer is in your graveyard and you control a giant. So I really like this card for several reasons. One, it works really hilariously with that other giant who doubles the damage that giants deal. So if you have this on the battlefield or in the graveyard and you have that giant in play, then you'll deal 4 damage each of your upkeeps to each of your opponents. Since it doesn't target, that's pretty cool. I'm sorry, I'm just being stupid. Anyway, and also you have Foretell. Like, the Foretell means that, like, if you do this if you foretell it on turn 2 and then you can actually cast it on turn 4, like, that's not bad. Like, a 4 mana 5/4 that, like, does extra things, that's not terrible. I just like the card. It's a bit of a meme. Like, I doubt this is... Okay, that's pretty sick art. I really like both of this art. I think I'm gonna go with this one, but this is sick art too. Meme giants, but other than that, cards from Eldraine, I think, were so broken that it's really hard to justify playing a lot of these new cards. A lot of people have been saying, like, a lot of these cards are weak. But, like, they're only weak in comparison to the nonsense Wizards have been printing. Like, this is still, like, a strong card. Replicating Ring is fucking weird, dude. 3 mana for a snow artifact. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Cool. We've seen this type of thing before. Just 3 mana, any color, mana rock that does something else. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a night counter on Replicating Ring. Then, if it has 8 or more night counters on it, remove all of them and create 8 colorless snow artifact tokens named Replicating Ring with add 1 mana. Now, notably, this doesn't make copies of itself. It makes tokens that happen to have the same name. Okay. Replicating Ring will still continue to get more counters on it after the first expanse. But it doesn't say create token copies of this. Because if it did, then those would continue to blossom out. Now, they may have changed the way this is worded, but I'm fairly certain that that's how this works. 8, it is 8, right? Yeah, 8 is a lot. Do not get me wrong, 8 is a ton, especially since it's at the beginning of upkeep, not on your end step. That said, in Historic, we have Proliferate. And it would just be hilarious if you happen to do stuff like that. Am I going to make a meme deck? Maybe. I think it's very funny. Broken Wings. I think this is a reprint, so I don't care. Spirit of Aldergard. 4 mana, 0/4 Bear Spirit. Whenever it enters the battlefield, search your library for a snow land, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Spirit of the Aldergard gets +1/+0 for each other snow permanent you control. So it's each other. So you're not going to... It is going to be base 0/4. But let's say you just have 4 snow lands when you cast this, which is not super unlikely if you're building a dedicated snow deck. In Limited, it's different. Just by the way. But still, like, a 4 mana 4/4 that allows you to get an extra land that becomes a 5/4. It's not awful if you want to play a dedicated snow deck against the AI. Spectral Steel is very weird. 2 mana, enchant aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. 2 mana, exile Spectral Steel from your graveyard, return another target aura or equipment from your graveyard to your hand. I think one of the ways that Wizards could be nice to white is by, instead of returning these things to their owner's hand, if you just return them to the battlefield, right? Obviously, maybe if it's, because with auras, right? With auras, it's a little more difficult because you have to have something to attach it to. But if it said, like, return another target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand or the battlefield, then I think that'd be fine, right? It's like, oh, well, I don't have any targets right now. I'll go ahead and just put this back in my hand. And, like, yes, like, you can get, like, weird cheeky things where you're milling yourself in white to put, like, some dumb thing, some dumb equipment onto the battlefield. But, like, then this is no stronger than Stoneforge Mystic in specific areas where you're like, doing that, right? Maybe it would be too good in that situation, but, like, it's fine as is. Like, really, it's absolutely fine as is. But Reckless Crew, 4 mana, sorcery, create X 2/1 red dwarf creature tokens, where X is the number of vehicles you control, plus the number of equipment you control. For each of those tokens, you may attach an equipment you control to it. Both burning, real faster. This is cool for equipment deck. I don't know if it's worth playing in Constructed, because it is 4 mana. Let's say, for example, turn 1, you know, you play, either you play Big Hammer, or you play, the Spear. Elspeth Spear, whose name I'm forgetting. I can see the image, but whatever. Turn 2, I don't know if there's any equipment that you want in Standard or Historic right now on 2. And then maybe turn 3, you play the white equipment, the Maul of the Skyclaves. Turn 4, you play this. You get 2 dwarves, and you get to attach them immediately. They don't have haste, so that's a thing. I don't know. This is probably just a Brawl card for equipment deck. Probably just Brawl. Grim Draugr, 3 mana, 3/2 snow creature zombie berserker. 1 in a snow. Grim Draugr gets +1/+0 and gains menace until end of turn. You can activate this. You can activate that as many times as you want. It's a berserker. It's a zombie. It's a snow thing. All of those are great for limited. Plays a lot of roles. Rise of the Dreadmarn, 3 mana for an instant. Create X 2/2 black zombie berserker creature tokens, where X is the number of non-token creatures that die this turn. Note, this is non-token creatures, which is a little sad for Gisa. I'm probably still going to try this card in Gisa because of the fact that it's because of the other thing that I'm going to mention. It's just creatures that have died. It's not your creatures that have died. It's all of the creatures that are non-tokens that have died. So if a board wipe happens, right, this is still fine, even if you have a bunch of tokens. Foretell is on rate, right? 3 mana, or an investment of 2, and then 1. So since this is a Foretell on rate, I think this is probably going to be pretty reasonable play in a lot of EDH decks, depending, of course, on what they want to do. I'm definitely going to try it in Gisa, especially considering, right, like if you have, if you Foretell, and then, you know, your opponents or something get unruly, you can wrath them with like damnation or something, and not care about your board as much, because you're still going to get some investment back. They don't come in tapped, interestingly. Yeah, they don't come in tapped, so that's cool. It's really hit or miss if zombies enter tapped. I do not know if I've talked about this card already, but Search for Glory, 3 mana, snow sorcery. Search your library for a snow permanent card, a legendary card, or a saga card. Reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. You gain 1 life for each snow spent to cast a spell. So you can only ever gain 3 life on this. That's tacked on there. Like, I don't think that that factored into the cost of this, or like what it could do. So that's fine. Like, tacked on life gain is absolutely fine in my eyes. Search your library for a snow permanent card, legendary card, or saga card. It can't get like snow sorcerer instance, which is a little sad, but that's fine. Legendary card, so it can get any planeswalker or any legendary card. So it can even get legendary sorceries, which is something of note, or a saga. I mean, I think this is probably just good in EDH, right? Legendary card or saga card? Legendary card. I mean, you have to make sure you have a good number of targets for it, but it does kind of hit an array of things, and especially considering it has legendary card on there. Like, if nothing else, you can go grab like Nykthos, right? You can grab Nykthos. You could grab Iganjo Castle for some reason. You could grab one of your planeswalkers. You're possibly playing things like Alishnorn. You know, any number of things like that. This card is probably like just fine in EDH. Rally the Ranks, 2 mana enchantment. Is this a different art or just as Rally the Ranks enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. It's very interesting because it's similar to dang it, the 3 mana enchantment from Ixalan block, whose name I just can't remember. except that this costs 1 less, and it doesn't give your creatures vigilance. That said, like, being able to just say, okay, I have a lord that is harder to get rid of. It doesn't have a body, but oftentimes your lord's bodies are kind of inconsequential because you don't want to attack with them if they die, and you don't want to block with them because they might die. So this card's interesting. It might help some tribes that need a little bit more love, but all in all, it's whatever. Hagi Mob. 5 mana, 5/4, boast. Hagi Mob deals 1 damage to any target. Grarg. Kai's Onslaught, 3 mana for an instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until end of turn. Shout out to Boring like getting stabbed. And Foretell is once again similar to Rise of the Dreadmarb. It's on rate, so maybe you'll get someone with this in limited, especially if you're like a Foretell deck. I just do not know. Faceless Haven is a snowland. Tap to add a colorless. Now this colorless obviously is snow. But what's really interesting about this is Faceless Haven becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance, and all creature types until end of turn is still a land for just 3 snow. Now, for what it's worth, 3 snow is not easy to grab if you were playing multiple colors. The reason for this is because, yes, you have snow basics, and yes, you have the slow snows, the slow snowlands, but your other duels do not produce snow mana unless you make them produce snow mana with that green enchantment. I think it was green. So if you're playing multiple colors, it's not necessarily going to be hard, but it's going to be harder to activate multiple snow pips. If this is in a monocolored deck, you can have at it, baby. It's very cool. I just like this card. Might it be worth it? So one of the things that I was thinking about for historic death and taxes is the fact that we don't have something like Mutavault. So it's a little hard to recover after a board wipe if our board actually gets wiped. But because for what it's worth, like the color requirements for that deck aren't terrible, so it's possible that Faceless Haven might just be fine, and especially like in the mono white version, but maybe in a single splash version as well. I don't know. That's something I want to explore though. No, it's a reprint, but it's kind of cool. Counter to artifact or enchantment spell. Draugr Necromancer is a 4 mana 4/4 snow creature zombie cleric. Cool, it's a cleric. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile that card with an ice counter on it instead. You may cast spells from among cards in exile your opponent's own with ice counters on them, and you may spend mana from snow sources as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So it's really cool. It's just a very annoying card. If nothing else, this just forces your opponents to lose a bit of value on their graveyard, right? Being able to just say, even if you board wipe, right? Even if you have Draugr Necromancer out, and then bada bing, bada boom, you board wipe, you're going to exile those cards instead of them having access to them in the graveyard. That alone is totally fine. If you're in a deck like, say, Gisa, that is able to reanimate things, then you can obviously like reanimate this and start casting their spells, sacrificing their creatures, and getting zombies that way. Note, this is an opponent controls, so it's not an opponent owns, so you can't do loopy shenanigans like that. I'm just realizing that the aspect ratio has been wrong this entire time, dude. Oops. Let's do that. Yeah, no, I like this card. 4 mana 4/4 zombie cleric. Might be able to make like a mid-range zombie deck that uses this card. Not sure. Maskwood Nexus, 4 mana for an artifact. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. This is, arcane. The 3 mana blue enchantment. It's arcane something, I think. 3 mana, tap, create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with changeling. It is every creature type. So it makes creatures, and it makes all your creatures things like, would I pay 1 mana for this over the other thing? Probably, because this does more, right? This just, yes, it comes down a turn later, but that probably isn't going to matter all that much. You can fetch it with Karn, which is cool. It's nice, sure, whatever. Skemfar Shadowmage is a 4 mana elf cleric with it's 2/5. When enters the battlefield, choose 1. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. Or you gain X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So you play this in elf deck, and you drain your opponent. It's similar to Gary. Decent body, to be honest, 2/5. It's 7 mana worth of stats for 4. It's not great, but it has an okay ability. Like it's essentially Gary. You don't get to get both, but the fact that you can kind of just like spit out a stupid amount of elves, because elves are stupid and they can do that, and then you say drain. This actually could see play in a version of historic elves. I'm not saying that it will, but I'm saying that it could. Yeah, I definitely could see this seeing play in historic elves. Eradicator Valkyrie, 4 mana, 4/3 mythic angel berserker, flying, lifelink, hexproof from planeswalkers. Hexproof from planeswalker is interesting. Don't know obviously how much that's gonna matter, but I'm willing to find out. And then of course you can attack, boast, 2 mana, sacrifice a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. If you're able to have something that recurs, if you're able... Oh, wait a minute. She has lifelink. There's that one angel where you can pay life. All right. Shut up. Everything's fine. Just scrolling. You see nothing. There's that one angel that you can pay life, dude. Pay 3 your life, return it to your hand. It's 5 mana, though, is the issue. Yeah, darn. Also, I do not remember where I am. Nope. There we go. It's a lot of mana. Like, if you have a better way to get a creature back consistently, then this is a pretty interesting ability. It can sacrifice itself, which is interesting. So you could, for example, like, if your opponent has 2 planeswalkers with no creatures, you can attack with Eradicator Valkyrie, one of them to potentially kill it, and then sacrifice itself in order to force your opponent to sacrifice that other planeswalker. That's definitely a possibility. It's an angel, which can matter. I like the card. Whether or not it sees play, it remains to be seen. But I do just generally like the card. It's an angel. It's also a black angel. That's my aesthetic. Snakeskin Veil. 1 mana instant. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn. Isn't this better than Ranger's Guile? Ranger's Guile. Proof? Hexproof. Yeah, is this just better than Ranger's Guile? Whatever. Bloodline Pretender. 3 mana 2/2 shapeshifter with changeling. As Bloodline Pretender enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Bloodline Pretender. This is a reverse lord. So you name zombies, and then you play a zombie, this gets bigger. You play another zombie, this gets bigger. You reanimate a zombie. Fun fact: enters the battlefield, gets bigger. This card is gonna play role in draft, or limited, I should say. I don't think it's gonna see play anywhere else. Littjara Kinseekers. 4 mana 2/4 shapeshifter changeling. When it enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, put a 1/1 counter on Littjara Kinseekers and scry 1. Similarly, this is going to be this is probably just going to be a limited card. It's got Pillar Fort Ox stats. Pillar Field Ox stats. So, Guardian Gladewalker. 2 mana 1/1 changeling. When it enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. We've seen a lot of these in green before. Essentially, it's just 2 mana 1/1 that can just put a counter on a thing. This one, though, has changeling. So this can go into, like, any tribal deck that has green in it and be okay. Very similarly, this is likely going to be limited mostly. Morite? I don't know. Of the Frost. 5 mana, 2 green, blue, shapeshifter, changeling. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types, and if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional 1/1 counters on it and has changeling. So, because it doesn't say that it keeps its name, it does mean that, like, you can't do cool shenanigans like you could with... What is your name? 4 mana clone from, I think, Ravnica. I don't remember the dang card. It's not stunt double. I hate myself that I can't remember. Regardless, I believe that it can't do cool things like that. That said, it's fun, interesting. Tucka. Definitely gonna go into my creature copy Riku deck, but yeah. Blood Sky Berserker, 2 mana 1/1 human berserker. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put 2 1/1 counters on Blood Sky Berserkers. It gains a menace until end of turn. Definitely interesting. It's a berserker. I don't think there's really a counters theme, but it does have the second spell each turn. Bro, I don't know. I don't know how to evaluate this card because it feels like the second spell deck doesn't want to be this, but I could be super wrong. Death Knell Berserker is a 2 mana 2/2 elf berserker. When it dies, if its power was 3 or greater, create a 2/2 black zombie berserker creature token. Very interesting. We've seen similar cards to this. We've seen Doomed Dissenter, the 2 mana 1/1. I think that when it dies, you get a 2/2. This one is different. You have extra stats up front, but in order for it to get the token, you have to make her a little bit him a little bit bigger. Works with like lords and equipment, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. But that's where we'll end this video. I have a P.O. box. If you'd like to send me things, I will open them on camera. I would also like to thank my lovely patrons, especially Fogman, Malik, and Bolas here for the continued support. If you'd like to join them and support the show, I'll link in the description down below. I do, of course, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. All the good stuff, of course. Until next time, all will be one.